All right, I can't scroll or anything, so this is exciting. All right, let's kick this thing off. Let's kick it off with the title. So, guys, welcome to Be the Market Expert. And let's start it off with this. It says the 99 major housing markets with year-over-year home price declines and the 201 posting gains. But here's the deal. It doesn't matter how we're looking at this and what the conversation is. All that matters is this. What we understand is that the people, at least in Colorado, that have purchased their home in the 1990s have equity. And that should be the only conversation that we're having, right? It's, hey, when did you purchase your home? And then we need to go through because this is what's happening. We're seeing this on Fox, CNN, YouTube, X. It does not matter where you get your headlines from. What we do see is this. We know that fear is what gets clicks, it's what gets likes. And so they're not posting the happy stories. They're posting the gloom, the sky is falling. And what we have to understand is you only lose money when you sell your house, right? That's the only time. And here's the deal. Let's say that someone bought their home 2 years ago. All right. You bought your home 2 years ago. Prices have come down in one of these markets. Well, if you're not having a life event that is forcing you to sell the home, you don't lose money on the house, right? What we do know is that long term, holding on to properties, homes appreciate year over year. Historically speaking, it's been 4%. 4% appreciation year over year. And yes, we have an affordability issue right now. And that is what's causing all these headlines. Now we have Iran and what's happening with oil. Yes, there's those components. But as we're looking at this, if a life event doesn't happen, and what I mean by that life event is truly someone gets laid off, right? If we go into a recession, someone gets laid off from their job, that layoff, they can no longer make their house payments. They can no longer make their house payments. They have to sell. Yes, that is an issue. But yeah, just being underwater on a home doesn't necessarily mean that we have a big deal. But if we were to look at this, let's go through here. We have Florida, 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 Hawaii, Texas, Florida. We can scroll through and there's Colorado, right? We got our Denver, Aurora, Lakewood area. But here's the thing when we think about the digital nomads, when we think about what has gone on in recent years, what we have is these digital nomads moving to Texas, moving to Florida. And now what we're seeing is they have all these people coming in, their job markets, the other things that are happening. And now they have too many people that they are trying to get reversed out of this thing. We saw this in Colorado as well. We have had more people move in. We understand what our price point looks like. And so what this is when we truly look at it and going in, what's happening? We have motivated sellers that are coming up onto the market right now, and they're looking to get their home sold. Remember, we're in the winter months right now, right? We are seeing seasonality. And I know you don't believe it because, well, outside today it's a little bit cooler, but it's been a pretty warm winter when we historically have been historically seen seasonality. So again, as we look through, we can see that we have some price fluctuation. They're saying about 3%. But as we go through just a little bit further down on the next graph, your geography lesson for the day is when we get into just the national side. Here you go. Here's your year over year, February 2025 to February 2026. Remember, rear view facing data. You're going in here and you are that square with that cursor over it. That's your geography lesson. That is you. And so we can see that we're not flat. We are one of those top markets outside of Florida, California, and Texas that is seeing some price decreases. And yet we're not going to be worried about this. Yeah. Lee in the chat says we're waiting for real estate agents as they fall asleep as jack-o'-lanterns and they wake up as Easter bunnies, and Easter's right around the corner, guys. The spring market is on its way. And so as we're going through and we're doing this, again, this is where the pricing conversations happen, right? Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Why are we looking to sell this home today? Where are you looking to go? Why is that important to you? Those are the conversations that we're having with our people. Because again, we might find that they might be underwater. There might be some kind of life event that's pushing them one way. But what I think you guys are going to see most of the time, that if they haven't bought in the last 5 years, no one's underwater. Home prices can go down all they want. And again, think about this. Someone that bought their home in the 1990s for $200,000, $300,000, That home is appreciated to $1 million at this point. That person's not losing money. So this is what's unfortunate about articles like this is it makes the public believe that they're actually losing money in their home, but the timeline actually matters of actually when they purchased it. Now, if we were to look at the next one, I believe there's one more slide here. Here you go. Here's your year over year change in the metro where home prices between 2025 and these are seen rising. This should be no surprise to us either. If you look in here, what we did see is we saw this shift of the digital nomad where they were going into the Sunbelt states because affordability, the sun, the beach, and they shifted. Now they're going to that northeastern side, right? And so we did see this shift in this population moving over here. And again, it's a more of affordable of an area with different demographics and different things that are happening, right? When we think about like Colorado, we are $100,000 is going to be your entry pay to get in here. We think about our price point at $600,000. So that's why we're seeing most of these eastern states where it's more affordable. And more specifically, we've seen the northeastern part of the United States has actually taken off. And this has been the last 2-3 years at this point since we actually saw this the Sun Belt. But when we go a little bit further, to the next slide, it says year over year shift in home prices across the 50. So if we look at this is 2001 to 2026. Guys, it ebbs and flows. And I think that's important, right? We can actually see the housing crash right there, and then it picked back up. And again, this is your graph that says you only lose money if you have to sell. Most people do not have to sell, and that is the messaging. So as we're going through and having the conversations with our people, no, you're not necessarily losing money on your house unless a life event happens to where you are forced to sell in the negative. But what we do know, historically speaking, 4% appreciation year over year, and we just have to weather these storms, whether it's the stock market and or the housing market. And then we go here and it says the percentage of America's 200 largest metro area housing markets seeing home prices rise or fall on a year over year basis. And so all we're doing again, this is just another visualization of it saying like, hey, look how big some of these fell during some of these years and look where we are right now. So be thinking about what price points look like in 2008 and what some of those houses sold for and what those home prices look like today. So again, there's only an issue. Again, if you were to look at this, if you were to have bought in the last like 5 years, yes, I think that there's going to be an issue. You're going to have some equity problems. You're going to be bringing some money to the closing table as a buyer or I'm sorry, as a seller. But looking at this, we do see these rebounds. And again, it's just an ebb and flow as it goes back up and down. Chris, what else do we got, man?
Yeah, that's it for this one here. So then the next article that we have, resale turnover is near a 4-decade low. Here's how real estate agents say the industry is shifting. So with this one, I mean, it's breaking it down, they with agents, and it's essentially what it's saying is 3 straight years of historically low existing home sales. Now, one of the things is it's not factoring in population growth. So actually, when you do factor in the population growth as well that we've had, it is the lowest resale activity in 40 years. Um, around 18%. The last time we saw this was when the mortgage rates were around 18% back in 1981. The turnover rate is still sitting under 5%, which is extremely low. And then, as Charles was just saying in the previous article, here we'll see as we're watching this kind of ebbs and flow. As we get over here, we're in the historically low level. And as you notice, it will always come back up and normal out into the normal levels. So one of the things that when I look at this, that I take with it, it's not a broken market, it's a pause market. So I think, one of the issues here that we're seeing are that some of the people that are locked in their lower rates, which is delaying their move there. And then the demand is building behind the scenes, though. So that's one thing we always have to keep in mind. Now, this article will dive into a lot around what agents are thinking as far as the real estate industry. And so there's some interesting insight here from the agents that were surveyed on this. One of the things is 90% of the agents do think that the shakeup has, or the shakeout of all the agents that, thought this was going to be easy. You just come in here and, business comes to you. Those ones have been weeded out so that most agents do think that that agent shakeout has already happened. With that being said, most agents do also feel that they're going to be active in this industry within the next 3 years. For us, like Midwest and West, you'll notice like West, there are no agents that think they're going to be out of here within the next 3 years. So I think that's some positive insight there. Um, the other pieces, as it dives down into here too, it's going to talk about more of the commission changes, anything that they've noticed since NAR settlement. Um, with that being said, I mean, most people are saying they're not noticing any meaningful change. 67% said here. Um, and then with the change that they have been seeing, they are seeing that with the negotiations with the sellers and the buyer side compensation. So that's kind of where they're finding the most pressure with conversations around them. But here in Colorado, obviously, we haven't really dealt with that. I mean, it's kind of been the same thing since the NAR settlement, and it's business as usual for us. So. Um, as we come down here, this is going to start to talk more about opportunities. And then one of the last things I wanted to talk about down here. So MLS provided tools. With that, these agents that they interviewed here, they surveyed here, it's going to talk about the most valued piece of the MLS, obviously, is the listings database and search. And then the least valued piece is the customer relationship management tool. That's because we already have our own CRMs outside of the MLSs. So I think it's a huge opportunity to utilize our CRM with Command as well. And that's what agents are seeing too, is they have no interest using the MLS for CRM purposes. They just really want the listing database and searching. Um, so a couple takeaways that I have from this. I would refrain from your conversations from a slow market and maybe move towards, it's a temporary hold as of right now. And then kind of explain those cycles, those ebbs and flows. As you notice, as we look at every single one of these graphs when we're looking at them, there's always going to be ups and downs. But no matter what seems to happen, it always normals out and levels out there right back in the middle. So, and then the last piece of this is, this is a good piece as far as the NAR settlement. I think it's a good tool. Um, have those conversations and kind of fine tune your negotiating skills. Obviously, it we definitely have to negotiate a little more now than we have, in the years past, but all the tools are at our fingertips. So the last thing about this one, the opportunity isn't gone. It's just building under the surface. So keep that in mind. There's positive coming our way. So we'll move here to the next one. Now, this is going to be Homelight. Homelight says more buyers are hungry for down payment assistance. Um, and so what this one's basically talking about is 1/3 of buyers are so basically they interviewed 78 of the major mortgage companies. And what they found is 1/3 of the buyers are asking about down payment assistance, which is something I'd say we see pretty common here in Colorado as well. The other piece of it is 45% of lenders are reporting that about or are reporting discussions of $0 down. So there's a lot of people who are constantly asking about zero down mortgages, which again we see, VA, FHA, people that are just trying to look for putting as least amount of money down as possible. With that being said, and something that I wasn't quite aware of is what they're noticing is people aged 30 to 40 are actually putting down more money, obviously, when they're buying. And then the younger generations, the younger buyers, are seeking the lowest possible upfront, like I was just saying. And there's actually 2,600 active home buyer assistance programs available in the U.S. So you have a first-time buyer, there's most likely going to be an opportunity for them to get some sort of assistance. That's just us talking to them, informing them of what the opportunities are, and then getting them in touch with the lender. So opportunities there for sure. Now, the other thing that I found that was interesting in here is with those older buyers or age 30 to 40, there is an increase in foreclosures through 2026. And obviously, I do think that has, direct correlation with them putting more money down, and with the equity being harder to hold on to. So um, the as we scroll down here and we get a little further down, one of the other things that we're seeing is most of those first-time buyers, they're more open to looking at manufactured and mobile homes as being the top choices, which again we see that out here in Colorado as well. So I mean, this article is pretty short, but it is quite interesting. Has a couple interesting tidbits. Honestly, what it means to me, I don't think the demand again has disappeared. Affordability is a challenge here, but there's with 2,600 active home buyer assistance programs, the opportunity is there to make it affordable for people. That's just, like I said, discussions with lenders, talking to educating yourself as well of what these active home buyer assistance programs are. Um, and then buyers aren't really getting creative to enter the market either. So, that's something again where talk to a lender, have a discussion with the lender, find out what all the opportunities are for first-time buyers because there's so many different layers and so many different blankets and things that you can find or that they know about. But you won't know until you have that conversation as well. Um, Basically, though, taking this in hand, we want to make sure that we're shifting our role from the home finder to an educator, to a financial guide. Now we want to stay in our own lane. We don't want to act like the lender as well, and that's where we can easily direct people to a lender. But you do want to have this education so that you can educate these people, because I do think a lot of clients that I've had and people I talk to, a lot of it is just they don't know. They don't know what they can afford. They've never even thought about it. They're scared. So it's getting that knowledge and then sharing that knowledge with these people. Um, so now we're going to move to Housing Wire again. So I believe this is one that Charles uses pretty consistently, but there's some great pieces of information in here. So as we dive down into here, basically what it's talking about, housing demand remained positive year over year. Momentum cooled as mortgage rates ended the week at 6.64, and purchase apps slowed to 5% year over year. The inventory rose while the 10-year yield hit a 4.48 intraday. Now, some of the factors that go into this report, obviously, there's snowstorms, there's weather, it is this, we're starting to get into the spring market change, and then obviously the Iran conflict that's going on. So keeping those all in mind, here's kind of what I've got out of this. So in weekly pending sales, they're trending up year over year. And week over week as well. So year over year, we're at 70,000 pending sales. And then last year we were at 69,000. So if we come down here, we are generally staying over year. And that's kind of what we're looking for. We just want to make sure that we're consistently having pending sales because then that's telling us that the market's moving and we're still seeing homes go on and off. So, I mean, ideally, I'd like to see this continue to go up, but we're just gonna have to keep an eye on that in the next few weeks. But as of right now, we are we're right where we want to be. As we move down to the mortgage purchase application data, so this is basically, people who have applied for a mortgage. And what we're seeing here is while there is a year over year growth, the week over week growth actually declined. But overall, as we get down here, you'll notice that it's staying above year over year, which again is kind of where we want. That means that buyers are interested in buying. But then again, taking us back to that other article, that maybe all those buyers are also looking for more down payment assistance programs. Um, with that being said, though, so as of right now, what this is saying, basically 163,000 people applied for mortgages last week or the week of March 25th. Um, as we move down, I'm going to skip there. Mortgage spreads. We'll move down to weekly housing inventory. So typically, housing inventory, it's increasing. It's a seasonal increase. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say. So typically, as we get into the spring months, we're going to start seeing the inventory increase. That's just something we see generally year over year. With that being said, we did see a slight inventory change increase from 705,000 to 713,000, which was obviously year over year an increase as well. So again, that's pretty good. As far as inventory that we're seeing more on there. And then year over year, obviously, as we look, we're staying with above all of those. So increase year over year, that's good. As we move to new listings data. Slow week, but over year again, that's still moving up. So, generally we're looking for about 80,000 per week new listings. I believe what it 67,000. I believe it was up by, 70 listings from last year. So not a huge increase. And then you'll notice it is slightly dipping underneath what last year's was as well. So we would like to see that kind of jump back up. Um, but it's nothing where, we have to be worried or anything. I mean, for context, during the housing bubble crash, the new listings range from 250 to 400,000 per week for several years. So we're not even anywhere near that. As far as price cut percentage, so typically we're going to see about 1/3 of the homes undergoing price reductions before they sell. Um, with that being said, last year we were 35%. We are at 34%, so roughly just over the 1/3 of price reductions. So again, as we kind of look at that, we're kind of right where we want to be. I guess you could say slightly high, but we're right where we want to be. Again, which if there's less price reductions, and obviously these homes are being priced right and they're being sold, and we're not having an issue with that. Um, so that's all I've got for this one here. I mean, a couple of takeaways that I do want to just mention, just going over this stuff. Pricing strategy is critical, obviously, and that's kind of what we're seeing, again with the price cuts. Um, Obviously, overpricing is going to lead to sitting, it's going to lead to price drops. So we really have to have those conversations with our sellers about pricing, as I'm sure we've all been through when we're going through that. The seller's always going to say that they have their number in mind of what they want, but the fact of the matter is the market's going to tell them what they are. Um, so then the other piece of that is you do just have to, if you do have a seller that's going to be sitting there, I absolutely must sell for this price. Um, have the conversations with him. Okay, I'm willing to list at this price, but then we need to have a plan for price reductions so that we're staying ahead, because the last thing you want to do is be chasing the market after you've been priced too high. Um, so with that, we'll move here. The last piece I wanted to go over is kind of just the mortgage rates and whatnot. So obviously the rates are going to continue it to fluctuate month to month. They're currently sitting, I guess, at higher levels compared to recent years, but buyers are still entering the market despite, the rate pressure. Again, with all those first time or all those down payment assistance programs, the opportunity is still there for the buyers. So this website is actually great for you if you wanted to come around and play. I mean, you could really get deep into the FICO and stuff if you really wanted to, but that's too much for me and out of my lane. But you can come in here, and so obviously, like if we go to the 3 month, one of the things that I could notice here is obviously as we've seen the rates go up and the war in Iran, we're seeing these rates kind of increase here. So we'll see where that goes. But as you look kind of in March, that's where all of that is happening. Before that, we were slowly decreasing or slightly decreasing as we were going through. Um, so some cool tidbits here. You could come in and do the 6 month as well. What this basically means, though, is that the rates do influence the behavior. Like that, people are always going to say, I'm waiting for the rates to drop, whatever it might be, but they're not going to stop the market. And so I guess what I'm trying to say with this is you don't want to predict the rates. You always want to avoid trying to predict the rates and then focus on the education instead. So come in here with your client and show them where the rates have been going if they're interested about rates. But the education piece, whether, and like I was saying about that down payment assistance programs, get that education to have these discussions with your clients, with your buyers, with your sellers, so that they have that knowledge before we even get started. The best thing you can do is get that knowledge to them, and then they make all the decisions, and you're just the facilitator essentially, and the educator. So also emphasize, as Charles was mentioning earlier, emphasize long-term benefits of home ownership. I think a lot of the times people will be very short-sighted and they want to just get rid of the home, or they want to just sell the home and move on to a different place, whatever it might be. But as like Charles mentioned, back in 1980, 1990, if people just held on to those homes, they'd have $1 million assets in their hands. So the last piece, um, like Charles was saying with fear, we want to reduce that fear. And all of these different articles that we're going to be seeing out here, there's so many out there that are there to create fear. So for us, I think it's best if we just we get, like I said, get that education. We understand what the fear is, and then we can understand what the solution to that fear is. To, make the buyers, make the sellers a little more understanding of what's actually going on, and not just what they're reading on the the cereal box front cover, whatever it might be. So ultimately, that's kind of all I have today. But if you have any questions on any of this stuff, please don't hesitate to reach out to Charles or myself. Any other questions for any of you that were hopped on here? All right. Well, I
No,
appreciate
but
you.
thank you. This was
Yeah,
helpful.
absolutely. Absolutely, Lynette. Thank you. And I appreciate you all hopping on and taking time out of your day, and um, have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Tell Elizabeth we say hi.
I
Yeah, thanks,
certainly
Chris.
will. I
And hi to
certainly
you
will.
too.
Thank you, y'all. Have a good Easter, guys.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
happy
happy
Easter,
Easter.
everyone.
Bye.
Take it
I knew I
easy.
was forgetting something on
I
there.
know. It's like, oh sorry.
I was like, there's something big coming
We
up.
gotta
All right.
wake up like Easter rabbits.
Yeah.
Everyone's about to wake up. So
Yeah, time to wake up, huh?
Seriously. All right. Have a great Easter weekend and a great rest of your week, guys.
Yeah, take it easy,
thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.